Kit Kat break. I was on the train this morning and I saw this lady leaning against one of the walls. She looked like she was nodding off a little bit. And then I suddenly look around again and I hear this crash and she's collapsed right onto the floor. And luckily she was leaning against the right wall, but everyone goes to help her, including me, and we try and make sure she's all right. Turns out she's fainted. We try and get her to sit on the floor. She doesn't. She's more concerned with being embarrassed than she is with her own health, and she kind of stands up and she keeps apologizing. And I ask her, are you all right? Is everything okay? And she says, yeah, it's happened a few times to me. This is the third time I fainted this week. Right, okay. Have you seen a doctor? No, I should probably go and see a doctor. Well, yeah, you should. Of course you should see a doctor. But instead she's on a train commuting into work. But imagine if she fainted while she was crossing the road. Do I need to get you an ambulance? Are you okay? And she said she's got someone coming to pick her up and take her home after I insisted that she does go home. But it's made me think about how often we put up with things instead of making them better. How often we work in ways that are knowingly inefficient because we never have time to invest in actually improving in what we do. So that's why I wanted to make today's vlog all about how do you invest time to create a better tomorrow. Back to the Kit Kat. I like to bite the top off and then you just have the wafer. The thing that Hive has done the most headway for is it's carved the way from a process and policy standpoint for future software and future developments. When you receive a spam email, what is the first thing that you do? You're probably just going to go ahead and delete it. You're going to swipe across and that email is gone. But what is the first thing that you should do? Well, the first thing you should do most of the time is actually unsubscribe from the email list that you don't want to receive that email for. And then you won't have to keep wasting time every single day removing these things. We spend so much time every day spending time on long processes and not stepping back and improving that process. But of course, that's not how we think. Another common behavior is when people email each other a question instead of just looking up the answer to that question themselves. How many times have you asked a question that you could have found out the answer to if you'd just taken a few moments to Google it? We're too busy using the excuse of we don't have enough time to actually make ourselves more efficient. Now, if you start taking ownership of those problems, you're going to find you have a lot more time. You can actually get more things done in the day because you're cutting out all of the unnecessary things in your life. And when you combine that with focusing on key priorities, it means that you can get so much more done. But of course, there's no specific thing that is driving you to actually go and do that. So let's talk about what are the impacts of you not changing on other people. When we fire off emails and questions to other people that we could have looked up ourselves, we create bureaucracy. We suck away time from other people and we create more processes for ourselves. Finding out answers is partly a case of an organization providing those answers, but it's also on the people that ask the questions to actually self-service themselves as well. You hear quotes like, we haven't got time to change, we've got so many questions coming in, answering these questions takes all day. And then people say, well, we need to hire more people, we need to put more people in place, or we need to put more processes in place to just try and deal with actually what is fundamentally a behavioral problem. The problem that is your people aren't looking up the answers before they ask. Why? Because it's always easier to fire off an email. It's always easier to ask, or at least people believe that it is. When you ask a question of someone that you could have looked up yourself, you take away someone else's time. When you start helping your people understand the impact of their behaviors and how they can start changing those behaviors, then you can start moving to a point where you improve your processes, you get more time back, you achieve more, and you as a business become more agile. So what are some ways that we can do that? Next location. The first one is you've got to look at the questions that they are asking and ask yourself, do you have a knowledge base for answers to those questions? And if you don't, you need to start creating one. And then look at the feedback on your knowledge base and see what it is that you need to change in order to make that knowledge base better. So the first focus is on you, getting everything straightened out so it's easy for people to find the answers that you know they need. Then you need to start helping people actually change their behaviour by telling them how they need to interact with your support community. Show them a big search bar and say search first before you do other things. If they email you a question, then go back to them and actually say, could you log this in your support community? Don't answer that question. Send them a link to where they need to put it, or send them part of the question and get them to go back to the community to find out the rest. Help them shape their behaviours. Don't reinforce the behaviours that you're not interested in. Be clear with people in your community what the expectation is around the support for those questions. If it's a community-led community, then don't promise to come back to them with an SLA. And surface the questions that lots of people are actually looking for in your trending content, in your popular content, to get them to those answers quickly. The faster you can get someone to an answer, the less likely it is that they're actually going to go ahead and ask. The goal of this is to allow you to focus on your key priorities. If you keep reinforcing the bad behaviours, if you don't start actively either ignoring or getting people to work in a different way, you're going to spend your whole time digging. If that lady had just gone to the doctor, she might have been able to get better before she fainted, before everything started crashing down. It's the same for you and your teams and your processes. You've got to invest that time in order to be able to make how you work better before you need more people, before you don't hit your objectives, before you get to the end of the year and you realise we haven't done what we meant to do. Hey!
Hello!
How's it going?
Alright, how you doing?
Good. The most important part about this process is how it's going to make your team feel. They're going to have more time. They're not going to feel like they're using all their time doing the same thing over and over. That's going to give them more time to make better decisions, to be able to think more. And if you're smart about the way you repurpose your time, it's going to give you more time to achieve your priorities. Now, is this easy? No. Do you have to be vigilant? Yeah, you're going to have to stick to a hard line and really pick out the queries that come through and only really service the ones that are adding the most value to your business. All the time that you take is time that you're being taken away from doing something else for your business. And your time is money, just like everybody else's. Once you start doing that in a really self-aware way, you're going to find an amazing amount of time comes back to you. See you tomorrow.